It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you're here on this Tuesday. Braves and Nationals coming up a little bit later tonight, but we have got a full show to get to here today. Home team Brandon Leak going to join us. We'll look at the Falcons and their draft, and now the work begins for Arthur Smith and company to make this team into a contender moving forward. So we'll talk to home team Brandon Leak about that. Also, Chad Lunsford, Georgia Southern head football coach, will join us. Spring practice officially done. Also had a couple of players with undrafted free agent signings on the National Football League, and just announced a couple of big non-conference games, Clemson, Kentucky, coming up in out years on the football schedule for Georgia Southern. So we'll talk to Chad Lunsford about that coming up in just a little bit. And also Luke Farrell, Jaguars 5th-round pick, tight end out of Ohio State. He will join us on the show. And, of course, he's stepping in. Urban Meyer, I believe he played 1 year for Urban Meyer at Ohio State, reunited with Urban Meyer. You got the number 1 quarterback in the draft on your squad, a fresh running back, and you as the tight end to go along with 3 or 4 young receivers already on the roster. We'll ask him about stepping into that situation there in Jacksonville. And Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, he will join us. He and Christian set to play their own major championship tomorrow. Is that officially happening, Christian? Going to have it tomorrow to settle who won the actual Masters pool. They're going to have the major championship and the PGA Championship coming up in 2 weeks for an actual major championship, Christian. So we'll talk to Rich Stiles about that coming up in the final hour of the show. So a lot to get to.
Just getting my mind right.
I feel like you're all trying awfully hard. I mean, you guys don't see Ben and BJ. Christian is trying awfully hard to get his mind right and to hype himself up. Like, I'm going to go out there and take Rich down on the links. And Rich is like, so we're teeing off tomorrow? Okay. Like, Rich is calm, cool, collected, ready to take him down. And Christian is like,
no, he's already playing mind games.
I
walked into my office and there's a Back Nine Boys towel sitting on my desk. So he's playing mind games. Put some Volvics on my desk.
To clean your face off after you taste the dirt of the shoes.
Rich, if you're listening, I don't use Volvics. I only use Pro V ones that I find on the golf course that other people lost. So get the hell out of here with your Volvics.
That's what we're dealing with on the countdown to the showdown tomorrow, fellas.
Hey, man, Rich's confidence and composure and kind of swag would make me really nervous. That's all I'm saying.
If Christian isn't on the show Thursday, I know what happened yesterday. I got all the faith in the world of Christian, though, because I don't think Rich knows what he's dealing with. That competitive Christian, when it comes out, it's going to be, Christian, have a good game. Christian, like, hey, don't be trying to shake my hand, man. We are not friends come tomorrow. So
well, I'm like Tiger Woods out there. I'm not going to talk to him the whole round.
Going to be laser focused.
Yep.
Until the final ball is tapped in, then you're going to take the hat off, give him the handshake, and accept defeat like a grown man.
I'm going to beat his old butt into the ground.
See what I did there? Speaking of trying to accept defeat, at least at this point, let's talk about the Braves and their weekend that was in Toronto. What? It happened, man. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Now they got a 3-gamer against the Washington Nationals back in D.C. Again, a two-game series or 2-game set behind first place in the East. So if you could potentially find a way to sweep the Nationals, depending on what happens around you, you could be within a game, maybe a half a game of first place by the time you look to come back home. So Braves don't need it tonight. Huascar Ynoa, who's pitched pretty good. The bottom part of that lineup is Contreras, Pache, and him. So could be a pretty light hitting bottom of the order, but the Braves need to make something happen starting tonight there in D.C.
I think it's a big game tonight. I really do. And I understand I'm saying that in early May, right? And that almost sounds absurd when you think about baseball and how long the regular season is. But I think this is an interesting spot for Atlanta over the next week or so. And to me, it starts tonight. You know, you had a bad weekend, Kevin. I think you're right. I think that's fair. Not only did you get swept, you lose Travis d'Arnaud, one of the key pieces on your team, Alex Jackson. You have kind of a reset at catcher. You've had the news about Soroka the last couple of weeks. We're still waiting on a couple of guys to bounce back. Washington, I know it's by a narrow margin, but Washington right now is in first place in the division. You were reeling a little bit. You had Monday off. It's time to get right and get after it. And I think tonight, Huascar Ynoa has probably been your best pitcher. He's going tonight. You should have confidence with him on the mound. I just think, Ben, from a psychological standpoint, from a momentum standpoint, even though it's May, You're currently what, 3 or 4 games under 500, a chance to get right against the Nats. Your guy who's been basically your ace for you on the mound. You look ahead, you don't know necessarily what you're going to get out of Max Fried tomorrow night. Drew Smiley's set for Thursday afternoon. He's been really bad. I think you need it tonight. I think this is an important game, a big game.
No, I mean, I agree. I think what happens is when, one thing I'm learning about baseball, it comes down to winning series. I mean, you want to win, 2 out of 3, or at least, come out of these series 500. But like I said, I look at Kevin. Is Kevin calm? I'm calm. Because I think what happens is we knew how tough this division was going to be. And sometimes, BJ and Kevin, when all Ronald Acuna Jr. and, Ozzie Albies and these guys, all they know is winning divisions. They just believe that they're going to find a way to get it done. Now, we're not used to the season looking like this thus far, but like Kevin said, you put yourself in a position to be in it at the All-Star break, and then they just don't fall off a cliff after the All-Star break. But this Braves team, everything they do matters. Not just, in Atlanta, but outside of Atlanta. You're looking at what these guys are doing. I know it's about – you got built-in excuses like, Soroka went on a 60-day, DL, and, Max Fried is coming back. Guys got to get it done. And I understand, BJ, you went on the show when they did exactly what Kevin said they were going to. Kevin said, listen, they come out and win this series, they right back in first place. Then the next weekend come, and they I think that's the ebbs and flows of a baseball season. You can look real good against a bad team, and then, you can look real good against a good team and look bad against a bad team. When the Marlins came up, Braves will get back. So I just think that, they got to go out there and get it done today, not panic too much because, like I said, Washington in first place right now. But I think this Braves team, they got to learn how to, work through scrutiny because it's going to happen. And we always talking about the starting pitching. We still going to have to go to that bullpen at some point. But I do think the Braves are going to be all right. Win or lose today, I'm not going to panic too much.
And we won't panic too much. We got to step aside. Apparently, Chad Lunsford is going to join us next. So we have to take a step aside a little bit earlier than we thought. But Chad Lunsford, Georgia Southern head football coach, had to move him up a little bit earlier. He will join us when we return. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, and Ben Troop. Glad you are with us here on this Tuesday, and we are pleased as spring practice come to an end, the draft come to an end as well. We are pleased to be joined by the head football coach of the Georgia Southern Eagles, Chad Lunsford, joins us here on 3 and Out. Coach, welcome. How are you?
Doing awesome. How are y'all today?
Hey, doing fantastic. Before we get to your spring practice and some other things, we're coming off the NFL draft weekend. I know you had a couple guys right there at the end of the draft sign free agent deals, Raymond Johnson and Ryan Langan. Have you spoke to those guys since they've landed in their new spots?
I have. They're really excited about their new opportunity. Both of them were very close to being drafted. Kind of the way it came out with those late rounds, ended up going the free agent route, which, may end up being better because they were obviously able to pick their landing spot. And I know for sure with Ryan Langan, he did a really good job of, doing his homework and understanding that the LA Chargers were a good fit for him. And same thing with Raymond being able to go to the New York Giants. But they're excited about their new adventure, and I think they're well prepared and ready to do it.
And, Coach, so many guys now come out of this Georgia Southern program, get opportunities at the next level. Talk about the preparation that you guys do, getting these student athletes ready, and talk about how great it is for the program to see these student athletes move on and have these opportunities.
Well, I tell you what we tried to do from the start. Our staff's done a really good job of being open door policy to the pro scouts. It hadn't always been that way here, but we let those pro scouts get in here and really take a look at our guys, evaluate our guys, and get whatever information they need on them. And I think that's been a big piece to why our guys are getting the opportunities that they do, because they just don't get hidden away. They get out there in the front, and obviously what they get to do on Saturdays, but also too what they do day in, day out as Georgia Southern men. The hats off to our coaches, man. A really good job of developing our guys and really bring them along and putting them in position to be successful at the next level.
And, Coach, one thing that's not talked about enough when you talk about getting drafted or going as an undrafted free agent is the cities that you go to. I mean, Kendall Vildo, he goes to Chicago. You talk about the two gentlemen, this year going to Los Angeles. Talk about going to New York. These are big-time cities, big-time major markets. Just talk about the fact that, coming from Statesboro, being able to make it in these big cities, that's got to make you feel good knowing that these young men are not just prepared for football, you guys are preparing them for life.
Yeah, no doubt on that. For our guys to be able to come from a small college town, Statesboro, Georgia, and Georgia Southern University, and then get in those major markets like Kendall getting drafted last year by the Bears, and then at the end of the year actually ends up starting for them. It just shows you what they're doing and how they have prepared themselves for the maybe for that next level and that bigger scenery, that bigger moment, from college football to NFL. And then, like Ryan Langan was really awesome in how that, he came from 6-man high school football to play, his very first game is against Auburn University. When he got to Georgia Southern, he plays in front of 87,000 people. And then he had close to 500 long snaps and didn't have a single bad snap. And, and then being able to go now to a professional program like he's going to, I think he's definitely prepared himself in that manner. So very excited for our guys and their opportunity to really put Georgia Southern on the map.
Chad Lunsford, Georgia Southern head football coach, joining us here on 3 and Out. And Coach yesterday announced some big news in terms of the future scheduling. Talk about that a little bit. Clemson coming up in 2026, Kentucky, and a home and home with an Eastern Michigan squad that's going to make a trip to Statesboro. Just speak to some of the games you guys have coming up, obviously well down the road, but the fact that you guys are going out and getting to schedule some of these teams.
Yeah, I'm really focused on Gardner Webb right now, but it's exciting where to be able to go ahead and get these teams on the schedule. And it's big. It's big in recruiting. Obviously, be able to show that we're going to play teams like Clemson and Kentucky, and and being able to have a G5 team in Eastern Michigan, a home and away. it just really makes it very exciting, and being able to plan for the future and just showing, you know, since we've gone FBS, you know, the ability to get quality opponents and the opportunity to draw people to, you know, to Paulson Stadium, but also to be able to go play these bigger schools at their place and, you know, go compete and show what we, you know, how we're progressing as an FBS program.
And I was going to say, you mentioned just the overall program, big picture. I mean, you think about, you know, the big time matchups you guys have in conference, the big time out of conference games you have at every level, you know, a number of them coming up. Does it just add to kind of the overall energy and momentum that you guys have?
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think, you know, between our guys, you know, going to a bowl game the last 3 years, obviously would have loved to won all three of them, but being 2-1 in those bowl games, you know, knocking on the door for a Sun Belt championship, you know, we really want to get over that hump and get us a Sun Belt title here, you know, with this group of guys. And then the ability to go and play these types of teams, like being able to go play Arkansas this year, you know, had the opportunity last year until COVID hit, we were going to go play Ole Miss. You know, those types of things are just really big for our program. You know, we were going to go play Boise last year, and obviously we got Boise coming to Paulson in the near future, but also getting BYU coming to Paulson this coming season. There's just a lot of things that we can sell for our program that, one, gets our current players fired up and excited, but also, two, being able to get our recruits excited.
And Coach, I was going to ask you about that. When you talk about, obviously, the lifeblood of any program is recruiting, how great is that for y'all to be able to say, listen, coming to Georgia Southern, you're going to still get to play teams like LSU, like Auburn, like BYU coming to town, that healthy rivalry you guys got, you know, with App State. It's got to be great to be out there to be able to tell people, listen, man, yeah, you coming to Statesboro, Georgia, but either we can come there or they can come here to play us. Because, I mean, outside, when you talk about the conference that everybody's scared to play outside of their conference, the Sun Belt is the fun belt. If you in that conference, you guys be beat up on these other conferences.
Yeah, you know, the Sun Belt is something else now. I mean, you got to be ready week in, week out. And as you can see, you know, with what the Sun Belt has done against some of these Power 5 schools, you know, it's one of those things that makes it hard to also get those opponents to schedule you. And so, you know, great job by our athletic director and getting us in a position to be able to schedule these teams because what it does do, you know, when our recruits see our guys get an opportunity in the league, you know, that gets them excited about Georgia Southern football. But it also, when they see how quality opponents that we have, they understand that they're going to be able to put their skill set, you know, out there and be able to show what they can do against quality opponents, which then can lead to next level stuff.
Chad Lunsford, Georgia Southern head football coach, joining us here on 3 and Out. And Coach, you wrapped up spring a couple of weeks ago. How do you feel about your squad now when you get ready to look ahead into the fall workouts coming up?
Feel good about them. You know, they were very businesslike throughout the off season during the spring semester. I thought they did a really good job of January all the way to spring ball as far as getting their bodies ready. After playing 13 games last year, I thought it was important that we spent some time with the strength and conditioning piece. They did a good job with that. And then when we got into spring ball, you know, a lot of these guys had not experienced what a spring ball was like in college just because of how young of a football team we are. And I thought they embraced the grind. I thought they embraced what it took to put into that. And I felt like that with our fundamentals and our techniques, I feel like that we got better as football players. And then on top of that, be able to put in our new offensive scheme and then continue to build on what we've done defensively. So I really like where our guys are at, look like what we're heading into with our summer training. And really looking forward to seeing what our team can do next year. But I feel like our team can go compete for the Sun Belt title and make some noise next year. So excited about them for sure.
And what were you and your staff looking for out of spring ball, out of the spring game maybe, and kind of what were your impressions of the team just from a schematic standpoint as you guys move forward?
Well, I thought it was an interesting spring in that our defense, you know, our defensive staff has a lot of continuity, and I think we've continued to build on what we've done here as a defense, continue to get better every year, and we've played some solid defense since taking over. And, you know, So I think we did a really good job of continuing to grow that during the spring. Offensively was unique in that we were installing Coach Roos's offense. So, but I think what helped was the ability to introduce, with Coach calling the play, Coach Roos calling the plays the last 3 games last year. That kind of gave us a jump start into the spring. However, he had to adapt to the previous offense that we were running last year. And so spring for us was about getting his offense installed. And you can tell our guys are very excited about it. Got a lot of energy about the no huddle, up tempo stuff that we're doing. And, I think the big piece was getting them comfortable in the new offense and trying to progress through the summer and on into training camp so that we can be hitting on all cylinders come fall.
And Coach, how much better is that going to make you, or how much more dangerous is that going to make your offense to have that no huddle up tempo? And how is that quarterback competition coming along?
Well, I think it's going to help us a lot because what we found is we've been playing really good defense. We're in every game. We can win them at the end. Sometimes we just need a little bit more firepower on offense, and I think being able to go up tempo, no huddle, can allow us to run, more plays, but also still control the ball, so that we keep our defense off the field. So I think that definitely gives us an advantage moving forward offensively. But as far as the quarterback battle goes, I think Justin Tomlin has solidified himself as the starter. He did a really good job at the end of last year before he got hurt, but has had an awesome offseason, did a really good job through the spring. Obviously we got a battle still going on for who's going to be the number 2 guy. And, I feel good about Sam Kennerson, Connor Sigelski. I think those guys have really come along in the spring, but they still need to take the next step. And then, we still got a unknown out there in James Graham, who transferred from Georgia Tech, was dealing with some personal issues throughout spring. So we really haven't seen a lot of him yet. We've got to definitely solidify who's the number 2 quarterback is going to be, because, in our offense, we got to be able to play more than one quarterback.
I was going to say how much, you mentioned the offense a couple of times, how much different is the offense going to be? Obviously you mentioned a couple of things, but I mean, is it a lot of similarities with some wrinkles, or is it kind of a different direction offensively?
Well, we're still going to be an option football team, but I think, being more up tempo is going to help us. And then you're going to see a lot more probably gap scheme type run plays. And then trying to make sure that the RPO game and the play action pass game can be a little bit more efficient and explosive for us. So I think those are some things that you're going to see that's going to end up being a little bit different for us.
So, Coach, what's your perspective? What are your priorities moving forward, kind of now that spring's in the rear view, moving forward into the summer?
I think the big piece in the summer is turning the page back to strength and conditioning. Let's continue to try to get our guys bigger and stronger, get them in shape, get them in football shape. That's the piece that we really missed last year. With us being only one of 2 teams to play 13 games last year, that was amazing considering that we didn't have the off season to get their bodies right. And last year we had to be in a next man up mentality, just because I do think there were more injuries just because we were not as prepared with our bodies as we normally would have been. So I think the big piece is just making sure we get our guys in that get them in football shape, get them ready to go through the grind of a full fall season.
Hey, Coach, I mean, most of the time they say football players play better when the game slows down for them. I mean, you as a head coach, I mean, I know coaching is coaching, but has it slowed down a little bit for you, now that you got some years under your belt?
No question. I think the experience with our guys, we had a good group we had about 8 super seniors come back, which was awesome for us. We've had a lot of guys that played a lot of football for us. When you start talking about our offensive line, I think this is the best offensive line that we've had since I've been the head coach, as far as experience and also just the game slowing down for them. So I'm really excited about that. We're very experienced at the running back group. Obviously, I've talked about our defense, but I think if our running back group and our offensive line do what they can, what we think they can do, The game slowing down for them is definitely huge for us as we go through this season.
Chad Lunsford, Georgia Southern head football coach, our guest here on 3 and Out. Coach, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Thank y'all. GATA.
Appreciate it. Chad Lunsford joining us. And again, opening up against Gardner-Webb, as he said, coming up in September. The big announcements this week, Clemson an out year in 2026, at Kentucky in 2029, and a home with Eastern Michigan. But guys, just real quick before we have to step aside, at Arkansas this year, in the coming years, at Nebraska, at UAB, Wisconsin, Boise State, Ole Miss, BYU. Oh, I forgot. BYU coming to Statesboro this year as well. So quite the schedule there with Chad Lunsford and Georgia Southern in just the coming years in Statesboro. We've got more to come. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here, 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you are with us here as we come out of a draft weekend. Falcons, according to NFL.com, got an A+ grade with their draft. They were the only team to do so. We'll see if our next guest agrees with that. From 680, the fan host of Home Team and Hamilton. Home Team, Brandon Leak joins us. Home Team, you agree Falcons A+ in the draft, or could they have done better?
I'm going to take it. It sounded like an A or at least a solid draft to me, so I'm going to take it. I think clearly what put them over the top was getting Kyle Pitts along with it, and the only thing they could have done differently was possibly draft a quarterback. But when you look at overall what they did, what they needed, where they got people, and what the direction of the franchise looks like is going based on, you know, just being able to get a lot done in their first draft, I think they had a solid first draft for Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith to get started.
I mean, everybody's so excited about Pitts. We obviously are. What are your expectations? I mean, I know this is kind of an open-ended question, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's just throw him the football. But how do you see Atlanta using him, and how does he fit in schematically to what they're trying to do, obviously, with an offense that already has a lot of weapons?
My expectations for the Falcons are low, and I'm sure if they heard that, they would probably be somewhat offended. But my expectations are low. I do expect the offense to be a tick better. I'm hoping that they would be able to make the right choices with the offensive line. They'll be able to run the ball a little bit more effectively. And, you know, even last year being a poor team, they were in so many games that were one-possession games or coming down to the end. Hopefully they'll be in a position, if they're winning some of those games, to close them out. But Kyle Pitts, you know, you're looking at a tight end. You're looking at a guy who's not – I stopped calling him a tight end. I created a new position for him. Instead of TE, he's just a W. He's a weapon, and you can line him up like a tight end. You might be able to line him outside like a split. You might be able to put him in the slot. So Arthur Smith and this offense should certainly yield benefits, if nothing else, in the red zone with a player like Kyle Pitts. And who knows, because of his size advantage on people who are going to be covering him, he might be a guy who may be able to hurt teams in the red zone and way out beyond the red zone if they give him those opportunities.
And Brandon, how much to getting a guy like Kyle Pitts, kind of like, you know, really like when you're talking about the decision of Julio Jones, what do you do with him? $15 million towards the cap. I know that Kyle Pitts is not Julio Jones, but when you talk about what Kyle Pitts can provide in the red zone, does that make that decision a little bit easier if you do have to move on from Julio?
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I think Julio Jones is going to be traded. I don't know where else the Falcons can go. It's a bad contract as it exists right now. There's no way you can get the money back. The only thing you could potentially do is extend Julio Jones and, you know, spread the money out over a longer period of time. But I don't know if Terry Fontenot or Alex or Arthur Smith are going to be that motivated to do so. And the truth is they don't have enough money right now to sign off their draft picks. So they still have some wiggling to do before they start signing their first draft pick and getting money straight on the book. So I think they go hand in hand. You drafted a guy who is supposed to be special. When you drafted Julio Jones, he was supposed to be special. You drafted a guy who's an offensive player and who's supposed to put a lot of pressure on defenses, and Julio Jones was a special player who put a lot of pressure on defenses. So when you start looking at where and why they took Kyle Pitts where they did, all of the signs point to, unless there's some magic trick that we don't know of yet, I believe Julio Jones will be traded, won't be an Atlanta Falcon this year.
Just a follow-up to that, I mean, what would their expectations be for a trade? What would they be trying to get in return for Jones?
That's a good question, because moving forward, you know, hearing Arthur Smith, and I like the quote that he had. I actually saw the whole thing, so it's out of context a little bit, but the whole and I'm paraphrasing the quote, you know, if they pick guys for a rebuild, not to win now, they pick the wrong guys. Yeah, it sounds great, but I think tying it into the Julio question would tell us something. Do you want draft picks down the road, or would you trade Julio Jones for a star player or a player of value right now that could help you win right now? And where would that player be? Would it be an offensive lineman? Would it be another wide receiver? Would it be somebody on the defensive side? If it is, what kind of player? So I think the more inquisitive thing to me is, what is Julio's value? What value of player could they get back? and what kind of draft pick, a third round, a fourth round. I don't think you're getting a first or second round draft pick for Julio Jones now at 32 and at the number of games he's missed over the last few years.
Home Team Brandon Leak joining us here on 3 and Out. Home Team, I know we talked about the draft class as a whole. Given how deep it was at the position and somewhat of a need there, are you surprised they didn't go running back at some point in the draft to kind of, even if not a feature back, just a young back to start to build around in the run game?
Yeah, interesting point, too. The place where they were sitting in the second round is where Javonte Williams was drafted. That's exactly who I wanted them to take. But I think, you know, in doing their diligence and their due diligence and making sure that they had the proper value at the proper pick, I don't really think you can be upset. You know, they signed Cordero Patterson, and while he's been, you know, a wide receiver and a return specialist, he was running the ball in New England, and he's 238, 240 pounds. Yeah, he can do some things, but that sounds like they're going to use him at running back. You brought in Mike Davis and signed him to a 2-year deal. So you're solid there with a guy that can run the ball between the tackles and catch. And then the interesting thing was Kadri Allison is still a part of the team, a big back brought in during the Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff era. So I think as it sits right now, that's your running back stable. And when you don't have enough money to go out and sign free agents, and every dollar means a lot, I think they have valued the people who run the ball. Now, maybe somebody comes loose when they're cut after a first cut. Maybe they can find somebody, but I think the Falcons are pretty clear. They could have drafted a running back a couple of times. Hubert Hubbard was there a little bit later in the draft. They didn't go get him then. So they had a chance to go get some running backs, and they didn't. And I think that's because they feel fine with what they have in the building right now.
And Brandon, when you think about the defensive picks they picked up in the draft, you got some intriguing guys. I think one of the most intriguing is going to be Taquan Graham out of Texas. I mean, a 2-year starter at Texas. I know Marlon Davidson is coming into his second year. How fast is he going to have to get up to speed? Because I know you talk about they're going to have to be able to sign these draft picks. When they do, they're going to have to be key contributors, especially with a guy like Taquan, who's going to have to try to provide some level of interior push.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think everybody on the roster now should have their eyes open and their heads on the swivel. They have to prove that they can stay here and do the things that Dean Pease and Arthur Smith want them to do. And the new guys coming in should, you know, try to make things difficult for the guys who have already been here in the building. Hey, teammate, how you doing? I'm glad to be a Falcon brother with you, but I'm trying to take your spot. I really like the Tinagumbo Ogundeji pick because the Falcons, it seems like almost 5, 6, it almost seems like 10 years ago was the last time they've been able to get to the quarterback on a regular basis. So hopefully if you can get something out of him and something out of Dante Fowler Jr., you'll have at least the remnants of some pass rush. But I think, you know, getting a lot of defensive players and some youth infused into the defense certainly will probably put some guys that are young like Marlon Davidson on the swivel, and then some guys, you know, maybe that are on the last year of their deal, the Isaiah Olivers and the you know, young players that came in that might be up on the end of their deal. It might have to show that they deserve to stay around here, because I don't think Arthur Smith is going to peg anybody as somebody who can just stay because of their name.
Avery Williams, I know, listed as a cornerback, obviously, you know, really good as a corner, but you look at his special teams career at Boise State, I mean, incredibly productive. How big of an asset could he be on special teams?
Yeah, I think that's the plan. Before the draft, a lot of us were talking about how the Swiss Army knife was probably going to be Cordero Patterson. But if he's going to be a heavy dose of the running game, you don't want to wear him out or have him take an extra lick or two on special teams that he might not have to take. And that's another arena, just like not getting to the quarterback. Special teams has been something where the Falcons just haven't been dominant on kickoff returns or punt returns and, you know, really set up the offense in a good way. And being that the defense has a lot of holes and a lot of youth and a lot of questions, you know, that certainly could be a part of helping out the offense, maybe be defense and set up short fields and help dominate and control field position with a player like that.
Home Team Brandon Leak joining us here on a 3 and Out. Finally, Home Team, you look at this this draft, the team they have with Arthur Smith coming back. You could say they underachieved under Dan Quinn. I know we saw some articles out saying the Falcons might be the team with the most bounce back potential, most improvement heading into 2021. Do you believe this is a team that can contend for a playoff spot?
You know, like I said, I don't have any expectations. I'm really going to advocate my partner, Joe Hamilton, on the Home Team and Hamilton show. because he hates when I make these gaudy predictions. But I'm just going to ask a few questions, and we're just talking about the possibilities. When you start looking at the schedule, by the way, is coming out May 12th, exactly when you play teams, but we know who we're playing. When you start to look around, I'm just going to ask some questions. Is Matt Ryan better than Tua? Is Matt Ryan better than Jalen Hurts? Is Matt Ryan better than the quarterback that doesn't even exist yet for the Washington football team? Is Matt Ryan better than Jameis Winston? So you start looking at how the Falcons have a schedule because they won 4 games and how it sets up this year and how they lost so many games or gave them away at the end. It's not entirely crazy that the Falcons could have a fantastic turnaround as soon as they get some new hands in the building with some pretty decent players on offense to hopefully guide the way.
Home Team, Brandon Leak, our guest here on 3 and Out. Home Team, always a pleasure having you on. Thanks so much.
Anytime, guys.
Appreciate it. Home Team, Brandon Leak joining us here and breaking down that Falcons draft. And again, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, Ben, coming out of the draft weekend. The talks of a Falcons turnaround to me are not that crazy because I believe they underachieve largely because of coaching in a lot of their areas and have some talent on that roster. Went out and supplemented that with the Kyle Pitts pick, some good selections on defense, a new message on defense now. To me, it's not that crazy to think that this Falcons team could have a significant turnaround in 2021.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know what you got to deal with down there in Tampa. I mean, Jameis Winston got to prove that he can still be an everyday starter when you talk about what they're looking to do in New Orleans. Nobody's scared of Carolina, but it's that out-of-conference schedule that the Falcons got to get it. I mean, the thing is, the Falcons might have played Kansas City the best of any team last year and gave it away at the end. So that's what frustrates you about it when you go look into the numbers and see how many games they lost by a point here or a point there, but that's how precious it is and how hard it is to win in the NFL. But I'm telling you, for Atlanta to win, a lot of these guys that got drafted, you better get used to their names because they're going to have to contribute because they don't have any money. They got to find a way to, to sign all these guys. And I think a guy that's going to be big is going to be Drew Dalman. I mean, and the big center out of Stanford, because Alex Mack, you got to replace that. I noticed the offensive line got to be reshuffled. If you can get him in and up to speed really, really quickly, I think they got a shot to be good. But some of those old guys going to have to gel with these new guys. And I know Brandon was like, you got to take my spot. Well, that's happening every year in the NFL, but they wanted to be a young man's league.
And BJ, finally, about 30 seconds, the big question, I think, of the offseason for the Falcons is, what is the fair value for Julio Jones if, in fact, you're looking to trade him, and what do you get in return?
Wow. I mean, what a question. And God, you hate to move on. I mean, just such a superstar. Hopefully there's another route you can go to make it work. But I think it's an interesting idea if you have to trade Julio. He mentioned, could you get a player in return? Could you do a player for player trade? That may be something to think about.
I mean, Ben has said that a couple times on the show. Don't get draft picks. Get a guy that can play right now. We'll come back. We've got more to come here on a 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here on 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. A lot more to come here on the show. We'll chat with Luke Farrell, Jaguars 5th-round pick, when we come back top of next hour. We'll also get to take 3 as well. But looking forward to seeing the 5th-round tight end out of Ohio State join us on the program. Also, some more draft picks tomorrow on the show. Jamin Davis and Ernest Jones are going to join us on the show. So looking forward to that, having both those gentlemen on the program tomorrow. But everybody's out there trying to put out their message, right? Again, we're coming off the draft, trying to entice recruits. Did you guys see Auburn's tweet today? I know it's retweeted from the Pigskin Radio account on Twitter. They put out things like, hey, we develop players. Here's our coaching staff, conference champions, all that kind of stuff. And across the bottom, various players whom they've had developed. I guess the problem, though, if you're an Auburn fan, is 4 of those dudes played at Georgia. Todd Gurley, Matt Stafford, A.J. Green, Isaiah Wynn, a couple dudes from Boise State. You're like, do we want kids to come to Auburn because Georgia guys got to the NFL? Or we want to get Auburn kids to go to the National Football League?
I mean, sometimes, Kevin, you just got to know that it's a bad idea. Like, listen, man, we're going to go ahead and put this out. Yeah, but they didn't go here. People will get it. If you are expecting the viewing public to understand what you meant, that's never going to go well. I understand what they meant, but I'm also not a recruit. So if I'm a recruit, I'm saying, wait a minute, is Auburn and Georgia merging? I don't know what they're doing, but that's not going to be it. Nothing says we're not getting it done more than to put out a tweet talking about players that do not go to the school we coach at. That's not it.
No, you understood what they were trying to do, obviously. I'm just glad they weren't in the Georgia uniform. They're in their professional uniform, obviously. But yeah, you understood the effort.
You guys want me to hurt your feelings?
Go ahead.
So you're recruiting a bunch of 17-year-olds, right?
Yep.
And Matt Stafford, he played back in 2007.
They probably don't know who.
Yeah, he played back in 2007. Those guys were 3 years old.
No, I mean, and this goes back to but this is the thing. I mean, BJ just said it. We understand what we're trying to do. One of the greatest things I ever heard is trying is a failing word. Trying is when you do not get it done. You either get it done or you don't get it done. You're asking a bunch of 17-year-olds who don't even look at these type of tweets that say, hey, man, who is Matthew Stafford? And Matthew Stafford played in that movie. They don't know who Matthew Stafford is. No, 2007, they had the flip phone. These kids don't even know what a flip phone is. So I'm just saying that's nonsense.
Yeah, it's crazy. But again, I know the message they were trying to send, but it's just say, hey, our coaching staff has put X number of players in the National Football League, and let it go from there. We'll come back. Luke Farrell, Jags 5th-round pick, going to join us when we come back. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We are streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com, live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. Again, Luke Farrell joining us next when we return here on 3 and Out. Welcome back. Hour 2 of 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you're making us a part of your day. And Ben, I know former tight end, you're glad when we get to talk to tight ends here on the show, and we chat with the 145th overall pick in the 2021 draft, 5th rounder by the Jacksonville Jaguars, Luke Farrell, who joins us here on the program. Luke, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Obviously, the draft is a big moment, but you get the phone call. You're going to Jacksonville. I know you have some familiarity with Urban Meyer. Talk about once you got that call, knowing it's Jacksonville, knowing Urban Meyer's the coach, and just your thoughts headed south to play for the Jaguars.
Yeah, just unreal excitement. Really surreal feeling getting that phone call, and having Coach Meyer on the phone. Super familiar voice, and just hearing it from him, and yeah, just amazing, and just really grateful for the opportunity, for him giving me this chance.
So what was it like playing for Coach in college at Ohio State, where you guys obviously had a lot of success?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I think his resume speaks for itself, and being part of that program, that culture was just a great, learning opportunity, and really, gave me, a lot of growth as a player, and then as a person in general. And I know he's going to continue that in Jacksonville as well.
And Luke, when you think about the tight end position, for the Jaguars, they've been looking for a guy like you for a minute, a guy that can, put his hand in the dirt as well as get out there in the passing game. What type of player do you bring to this Jaguar organization, and what should Jaguar Nation look for from you this year?
Yeah, I know I bring a lot of toughness, first and foremost, with every aspect of my game. I approach it with a lot of toughness, and then also versatility. Like you said, I mean, I put my hand in the dirt, do whatever they ask me to do, and at a high level. So yeah, versatility and toughness.
Luke Farrell joining us here on 3 and Out. Luke, you go to Jacksonville. They had the #1 pick in Trevor Lawrence. You guys played against Trevor Lawrence in the Sugar Bowl. Your thoughts on going to Jacksonville and having the top pick in the draft throwing you the football?
Yeah, that's also, so exciting, to have him, and I'm really excited about this offense coming up. But yeah, it'll definitely be nice to have him on the same side of the ball this time around, for sure.
I got to ask you about that game, because I believe, you guys were trailing Clemson 14-7. Obviously, great players all over the field. Trevor, Justin Fields, of course. You catch a touchdown pass, make it 14-14. You guys score 28 unanswered points in the playoff. What was it about your touchdown catch in that game that kind of led you guys to such an amazing finish to that matchup?
I don't know. I think people just like seeing tight ends catch touchdowns. I mean, we had three in our unit that game, and I mean, I think that definitely brought some juice and momentum to our side, and yeah, I just took it from there and ran with it. But yeah, I mean, amazing game and great moment to have that kind of contribution in a game like that.
And Luke, you coming into the league to where now the tight end position is looked upon as a weapon, not just a guy that's, the 7th man on the line. You guys are looked to be an integral part of the offense. Just talk about playing at a place like Ohio State that prepares you to go play for a team like Jacksonville.
Yeah, starting from, Coach Meyer, asked a lot from his tight ends, and, Coach Day did the same. So I think that really prepared me, to be put in any situation I might be put in, and be able to, have that experience and do it at a high level, like I said, and just being coachable, being able to do what they asked me to do, whatever that job is.
Luke Farrell joining us here, 5th round draft pick out of Ohio State by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And kind of to that end, how nuts was 2020 for you guys, Luke? Obviously, the Big Ten came back and started playing a little bit later than everybody else. You guys got in the playoffs, so you got to play some extra ball games. But going through that, were you thinking about the NFL, or was it like, hey, I'm just happy we're playing at this point, I'll worry about the NFL stuff later? Or when you're sitting back for 4 or 5 weeks watching the ACC, SEC play in the back of your mind, is that like, are we missing out here potentially on, tape and opportunity?
Yeah, it was a tough year. I mean, the ups and downs of just, are we going to play, are we not? And then having games canceled throughout the year. It was definitely really tough, and it tested, me and then the team as a group, really just how we were able to adapt to whatever, was thrown at us. But no, I mean, once I was committed to, staying and being there for my team, I was in 100%, whatever it was going to be. If it was going to be 6 games, 12, whatever, I was ready. And obviously, we ended up having a good season out of it, and would have liked it to end a little bit better, but I'm just really proud of, what we were able to accomplish there.
And what was it like playing at Ohio State? I mean, you think about a program that's right there competing for championships every single season. Again, you had a big time highlight in the postseason, but what was it like playing at a program with those expectations?
I mean, it's unreal. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure coming in, and you just kind of learn how to adapt to that and play with that kind of pressure, because it's every week. You got outside of 2020, it's 100,000 fans in the stands, and a lot of pressure from the coaches and everybody. So you really get a lot of experience with being able to be calm and cool under that type of pressure, and just really play your best ball in that type of environment.
And Luke, I mean, I know you kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but what are you most looking forward to? You talk about being a versatile tight end, but what are you most looking forward to now being in the National Football League?
I mean, everything. I'm just ready to get to work. I mean, yeah, just keep working, keep getting better, and see how high I can take my game, overall, and see what I can do with that. And this, like I said, this offense is going to be so exciting to be a part of. So I'm just pumped to be a part of it.
I know a lot of folks are looking forward to you guys putting it together there in Jacksonville. Luke Farrell, Jags 5th round draft pick, a tight end out of Ohio State, our guest here on 3 and Out. Luke, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Luke Farrell joining us here on 3 and Out. And BJ, we'll start with you as a Jags fan before we get the tight ends thoughts on it. But, I mean, he's coming in as part of a draft class where, as he said, you have the number 1 quarterback who he got to see up close and personal in the playoffs. You got a running back who he got to see up close and personal in the playoffs. You got an offensive tackle coming in, and you've got him. You've got some key pieces, quarterback, running back, tackle, tight end, all coming in this draft class, and all are expected to come in and play. That's got to be exciting, at least as a young core, to be walking into.
Yeah, and I think he's a really exciting prospect. He talked about his game, Ben, and I'll obviously defer to you to talk about the role of the tight end, but 6'6", 258. And if you think back to the national semifinal, the Final Four there in the playoff, that Clemson-Ohio State game was back and forth. Clemson was actually winning 14-7. He caught that touchdown pass like we talked about, and they went on a run. So he's a guy that, yes, is a good blocker, big, physical, but also had some really big catches for Ohio State, and is a guy that I think is going to bring versatility, like he said, to Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah, being able to obviously you go from Justin Fields now, you get Trevor Lawrence. You talk about being familiar with what your head coach wants. You might not be familiar with that offense, but you know what your head coach wants. Luke said he's looking to be versatile. He's obviously going to be competing to be the opening day starter. Dare I say, when you got so many weapons, BJ, with Chark, Chenault, you talk about, Marvin Jones, you talk about adding Travis Etienne, he's going to get one-on-one coverage. And all I'm saying is you see what he's able to do for an Ohio State offense. It's going to be a little bit different, but when you know the expectation, you can come out there and being able to put your hand on the ground, because I know we get caught up in the Kyle Pitts weapons out there. When you a guy that don't come off the field, put your hands on the ground, you an extension of the running game, it's only going to make your game come along a lot quicker. But, yeah, Luke said he's ready to get out there and get it done. And dare I say, BJ ain't got on the Jaguars gear today, but we know BJ like talking to these Jaguars picks.
Yeah, man, and look, it's a incoming rookie class that has a lot of expectations, right? When you talk about Lawrence and Etienne, I mean, I know you've talked at length about the transition. What's it like transitioning as a tight end where you're asked to do multiple different things, right? Your responsibilities are dynamic. You have to be a part of everything the offense does. I know you said that before, that the tight end's kind of a unique position because every play you have something, very specific that you're engaged in. What's the biggest challenge transitioning even from a Florida or an Ohio State to the NFL at the tight end position?
I think the biggest thing is going from learning plays, learning concepts. In the NFL, they're giving you a concept because, if you know what the concept of a play is, you interchangeable. Just because you a tight end, you want to be able to guy that doesn't come off the field. That's the one thing I had to learn. The terminology is always going to be hard to trying to get up to speed to. But when I understand what the offensive coordinator is looking at according to what the defense is showing him, and I understand the concept of that, it's going to mean you don't come off the field because you want to. Coach used to tell me, man, you got to look at offense like a center. A center got to know what everybody's doing, whether you a guard or a tackle or a running back or a quarterback. You got to be like that too, because the tight end is always going to be that Swiss Army knife. They let tight ends do everything, but throw the football. They can block in the backfield. Obviously, they can go in motion. They can put their hand on the ground. They can go out there and pass the game. So that's where the tight end position is coming. And while everybody, wants to be Kyle Pitts, I don't think that should be the barometer, because I think Kyle Pitts is in the class all of his own. But guys like Luke, to me, it's like that George Kittle type. I mean, he can do it all. Being able to block helps you get out there in the passing game because you're not a one-trick pony. And I just think that, the tight end position is on the map now. Now these guys don't get to just kind of hide in the weeds, BJ. No more O'Shaq Hennessy's of the world, but I'm looking forward to see what Luke can do out there.
Well, I mean, and here's the thing. Obviously, he has some familiarity with Urban Meyer from his early time at Ohio State. But what do you expect to see, BJ and Ben, as the, quote, offense? He said, hey, I'm excited to get in this offense. And yeah, okay. Well, what is that? Because there's a lot of people that would say what you ran at Ohio State may not work in the National Football League because you can't exploit weaknesses as much, right? I mean, because you could say, hey, their second corner is not as good as the other guy. We're just going to go at him all day or go to this left side all day and wear it out. Obviously, everybody can be a potential strength in the National Football League. What do you expect Urban Meyer to do different, if anything, with his offense to try to make it run in the National Football League?
Yeah, I think balance is going to be the goal, and I know that's kind of an abstract word, but I think you're going to see an offense where you don't rely overwhelmingly necessarily on one or two guys, right? Ben, you mentioned it. This has been constructed, this roster, to be an offense where multiple guys can be impact guys or can be leading guys. At the running back position, you have two stars. You have a guy who had 1,000 yards as a rookie, and you guys know how I feel about Travis Etienne coming in. The wide receiver position, it's not just Shark. It's Shark and Laviska Shenault. And now you're talking about Marvin Jones, who's been a great pro. You're talking about multiple tight ends. You're talking about a quarterback, obviously, who has been a focal point and is very comfortable if he has to throwing the ball downfield to win a game. You have options. And I think at times, not just last year, but obviously over the last 10 years for the Jacksonville Jaguars, sometimes you haven't had options. You've had maybe one thing you've been really good at, or one player you can go to, or one specific formation that works. I think the idea is to be versatile, be multiple, and be balanced with your playmakers and your play calls.
I mean, for me, when I think about Travis Etienne, when I think about DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault, you talk about Luke, you talk about Trevor Lawrence, you talk about James Robinson, I think you're going to have all gas, no brakes. You're going to get a mulligan year. Nobody's going to expect Jacksonville to be that team this year. So you go out there and say each guy has a unique skill set. DJ Chark going to be your over-the-top guy. Marvin, Marvin Jones, DJ, he's going to be your route running guy. Laviska Shenault going to be your big, slot receiver. That's before you even get to Travis Etienne. But the thing is, because Trevor Lawrence can make every throw, that's what you like. You like the fact that every last one of those guys, hey, Trevor, man, you want some coffee? Man, I got some. Because they trying to build that trust with that young guy. And I think that's what make – and then when you talk about a guy like Luke, you're going to get so caught up in these big names, and Luke going to be running down the scene. That's what he did at Ohio State. Nobody – and then, like you said, BJ, he's the one that started that turnaround. So when you got that much youth and these guys are wide-eyed and they want to go out there and make plays, I think the guy that's going to make it come together is going to be Etienne because he's so smooth with his game, and he don't need 25 opportunities. He needs 15. And that's a mixture of the pass and the run. So with so much youth and so many guys with, 25 years and under, you're going to have to be able to know it's going to be a lot of growing pains. But when they get it together, they're going to be putting a lot of pressure on these defenses because you got guys that got them fresh legs going up against some old vets. I think it should be a very, very exciting offense, even though they're going to have to go through a lot of, trials and tribulations to get to what they want.
Hey, I'll be interested to see when this offense all comes together, what it's going to look like there in Jacksonville. We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. Rich Stiles will join us in the final hour of the program. When we return, we'll take 3 next. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back, 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We are streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com on your mobile device as well, ESPN app. Live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can catch us each and every day on the show as well. So no reason you can't catch 3 and Out all day, every day. Yes, it's time for us to take 3 here on 3 and Out. Let's do it now. An extremely nerdy edition of Take 3 today. What? Christian's all offended. It's not in the May the 4th be with you, all about the other Star Wars nerds. And they call themselves that, so it's not offensive.
It's about Star Wars and their fans.
And they call themselves Star Wars nerds.
I think you want to try to get Star
Wars nerds.
I was about to say, Kevin, don't you like vocalize things for a living?
I'm about to not be, apparently. I'm about to check out
here. Because we're on 3 and Out today.
I was trying to deliver 2 thoughts at the same time. One via a chat, one via like out my mouth on the radio show. So that was not.
So it's
not
like trying to do a radio show with Cody while he mock drafts.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I said hands above feet yesterday, so that was good instead of head and shoulders. But you know, it happens. But no, Kevin, it's not Star Wars nerds. It's Star Wars fans. It's one of the most. It's one of the most popular film franchises ever.
I mean, I don't understand it like to the extent with all the details, but I like Star Wars.
Like, but Kevin, you enjoy college football. Are you a college football nerd?
I mean, if that's what you want to call me, yeah.
No, I'm not.
Do I dress up in garb and go stand outside the stadium for 4 hours before the game? If I do,
no, that's a good question, Kevin.
That's fine.
Kevin, do you own articles of clothing with your favorite team on it?
I probably do.
Yeah, okay then.
That's what I'm saying. And again, that's what they do. They call themselves that.
No, I think you call them that.
Okay.
They call themselves Star Wars fans.
They made a whole show called The Big Bang Theory where it was all about being nerds. And
it's one of the worst shows of all time, but we don't have to talk about that.
All right, it's fine.
We don't have to talk about that. It's Star Wars Day,
Read the
Kevin.
question then.
For the Star Wars fans.
The question.
You're the show host.
Well, you're the one interrupting, apparently.
Because you're attacking a group of people.
I'm not attacking anybody. I'm stating a fact.
Go ahead.
All right, Star Wars nerds, this is for you. on Take 3. If Alabama is the Death Star,
they are.
Does that make the rest of college football the rebellion?
All right, I was getting clarity on this earlier in the show meeting, and yes, Alabama is obviously the hub overwhelmingly, but I also think Clemson's got to be at least got to have a room on there because people sometimes forget this. All right, you had the first college football playoff, right? That was what, 2014, the first college football playoff. They've been in every single one since then, every single one. When you think about in Ohio State, probably has a spot on there. When you think about, their expectations, they got a national championship in the playoffs. So it's Alabama, but I think Clemson and then Ohio State probably on there too.
Of course, everybody else is a resistance because secretly, when you talk about the fact that, BJ, you talk about Clemson, and 1 year it was LSU, and another year is Ohio State, and then this year people talk about, Iowa State. It's always it's always a resistance versus, Alabama. It's usually sometimes Alabama say, listen, let's act as if we have a weak foot. We can't win every year. So let's just give Joe Burrow and those guys a chance to go out there and get it done, or let Ohio State, feel as though they're better than us. But yes, it is the resistance versus Alabama, even though Alabama's that immovable object at this point.
I'd say Clemson, if you need a ship to compare them to, BJ, they might be like an Imperial cruiser, right? Like the first ones you see in the opening credits. So I give you, they're not the Death Star though. That's Alabama. Just wiping out entire planets. Yeah, wiping out entire planets. It's Alabama.
The Imperial cruiser.
That's Clemson. It's still a really dangerous kind of evil. Yeah, but it's not a moon-sized ship that can destroy planets. I'm just saying. That's no moon.
All right, Take 2. If Nick Saban is Emperor Palpatine, did I say that correctly?
You did. Nailed it.
Sounds like a drink.
The Emperor.
Palpatine. Does that make Kirby Smart, Luke Skywalker, or Darth Vader?
I mean, maybe or kind of. I mean, Christian, I kind of need clarity here, man.
All right, so the Emperor is the one that controls the entire evil empire, right? Darth Vader is his right-hand man, but Luke Skywalker is the one that is going to set the galaxy free from the Emperor. So my thought is
related to one of them.
He's actually Darth Vader's son. Spoiler alert. My thought there is Kirby Smart is from the Nick Saban coaching tree, but is he successful enough in the postseason to really be considered Darth Vader? Like, I don't know. But is he also good enough to come back and take down the evil empire? I don't know that either, guys.
I feel like I need to have a really significant kind of knowledge base about all the films to be able to answer these questions.
Is he the one who is just an extension of Nick Saban, or is he the one that will free college football from Nick Saban's reign?
Oh man.
I mean, neither.
I mean, is he the one that's going to free college football? You know, that would be retirement. No, I'm just saying. I mean, the thing is, too, though, Christian, Kirby Smart, I think, is the only one that can. I mean, he hasn't done it yet, but I think he's the only one that can do. He came very, very close, obviously, but now he got to climb that mountain again. So, man, dare I say Kirby Smart might be.
Nick Kirby might be Darth Vader. I think Dabo might be Luke Skywalker.
I don't like to give Dabo no credit, but he might be Luke. But yeah,
him and his slides and pizza parties to take down the evil empire.
I'm just saying that it comes down to Dabo and Kirby. One of them will come through, hopefully.
They're probably both on the bad side if you get down to it. No, take three. Which school has the best chance of blowing up the Death Star this year?
This year, that wasn't in there. I'm just saying period. Just saying period. We talked about this in the show meeting, though. Just period in college football. Which one has the best chance of Alabama's reign of terror?
When you think about Alabama's success, though, we were talking. I mean, it's like forever. You know, Alabama obviously, under Saban has dominated college football, but it's not like in previous eras they weren't great either. Like Alabama forever for college football has been right there competing for championships, winning championships, consistently being in the top 5, the top 10. I mean,
much like the dark side of the force is just always there.
Okay. So, I mean, is the answer like just nobody? Like Alabama? Yeah, Alabama.
No, I mean, the thing about it is, I mean, which school has the best chance of blowing up the Death Star this year? It's a school that we never, ever know what they're going to do each year, but they find a way to get it done when it comes to Alabama. It's Auburn. I mean, Auburn will find a way to blow it up because you just don't know, BJ. I mean, Bo Nix did it 2 years ago, right? And that could be the only way they don't make it back to Atlanta and back. So I think for me, it's that unpredictable spaceship out there known as Auburn, Bo Nix, and them Tigers.
Kevin, it's not Clemson. It's not Georgia. It's not Florida. It's not Ohio State.
It probably is when Nick Saban decides to be done.
Father Time is the only one who can save us.
Well, the thing is, the Darth Star gets better stormtroopers than the other resistance guys do. So,
what?
Nick Saban gets better soldiers. If you will,
I got you.
And one side has the stormtroopers. What are the other guys called?
That Cruton over there.
Yeah. In the movie, the stormtroopers couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, but on
the movie,
in the movie, that Star Wars movie, you know what I'm talking about?
Technically,
that Star
there
Wars
is only
movie?
one movie named Star Wars. Period. Like nothing else, right? Or they all have subtitles? No, whatever. I quit. Nerds.
They all have subtitles.
Yeah, nerds.
What does that have? What are subtitles?
Not subtitles.
Every movie has subtitles. You just got to turn it on your TV.
All right, y'all. Now y'all are just being ridiculous. Like in one called like Star Wars, like.
Yeah, when everybody's asleep and I have the volume turned down, I'll turn on the subtitles.
Only title is Star Wars.
No.
Okay.
No.
I knew I could count on you nerds to correct me.
There's a New Hope. There's Revenge of the Sith. Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3. There's a latest trilogy. They're all Star Wars, Kevin.
Kevin does have a point. The Star Wars people, it gets a little. They get a little. They are different. Like, and the thing
almost
is,
as bad as the Harry Potter films.
No, but the thing is, it's like this.
7 times.
They really expect you to know the difference between Episode 1 and Episode 2 and all that other stuff Chris just said. I said, listen, man, I lost track. I can't remember who's who. Darth Vader. I'm gonna say this. I thought that Darth Vader name was Dark. D-A-R-K, not D-A-R-T-H. And I know I'm not the only one either. I'm just saying. I could get away with that. At least he's Darth. Yes. So I'm just saying, Christian, the fact that you can keep up with all this stuff, you know, Juju.
This is almost as bad
stuff,
as having an SEC show host from an SEC state come on our show and call Georgia Southern an FCS school. Like, this entire segment has been that bad.
Not really.
It's been that bad.
It's literally not the same thing.
Just in terms of your knowledge base, it's been that bad.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not into. I mean, Luke Skywalker and all. I mean, okay. I mean, what?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of the most culturally relevant
Baby Yoda and all that
movie series ever. But yeah, I'm with you.
Baby Yoda's not in the Star Wars movies. I don't think he's in the Mandalorian, right?
Yes.
Are Ewoks in the Star Wars? Is that Star
They sure
Wars?
are.
I'm just saying, Christian. Juju Binks.
Jar Jar.
Jar Jar. No,
Yeah,
Juju
plays for the Steelers.
Yeah.
I'm about to say that's the one that he went to USC.
Oh my goodness.
He did resign with the Steelers though, man. He's a great player as well as a great catcher.
I'm gonna start like when I do these risky take threes, I'm just gonna start having backup take threes, and it's literally just gonna be like LeBron versus Jordan, go.
Well, we didn't say that.
Yankees dynasty or Alabama's dynasty, go. Like that's all I'm gonna do, because like stuff like this where you guys hard on it isn't in it, and you're just gonna make fun of it the whole time.
I'm not making fun of it.
Whoa, wait a minute.
You literally started it by going, "This is for you Star Wars nerds."
Because that's what they call themselves. Star Wars nerds, geeks, whatever.
I'm about to expose Kevin on the show. I'm just going to tell everybody who his favorite team is, because if he wants to talk about nerds, we can talk about your favorite team.
Well, then whatever. It's fine. But I mean, listen.
No. No. I want the listeners to just realize this about Christian, right? Christian ain't with you not knowing certain movie stuff. Christian will let it go, but when it comes to the greatest movies of all time, Christian,
am I wrong here, like expecting like some base semblance of knowledge about like knowing who Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader is from guys who were alive when a lot of these movies came out?
And that's when I watched it when I was 8 or whatever when it came out. I'm sorry.
I think Cody.
There have been recent movies.
No,
like
not those. I'm talking about the original.
I think
3.
yeah. Kevin was like alive when all of the original 3 came out. No, I think these guys are all closet Star Wars fans, Cody, but their toxic masculinity won't let them admit to themselves and bring it out on the show.
This sounds. You know what? This fans. Also sounds like a guy who's insecure in the fact that people don't watch every movie ever made. Like, it's fine.
I don't need you to watch every movie. Like, if you want to
you're upset that we haven't seen the Star Wars movies. It's fine.
You just said you had seen the Star Wars movies.
I saw the original 3, and I've said that 100 times on the show.
Apart.
I don't know what else you want me to say.
Your story's falling apart.
My story is not falling apart. It's the most consistent iron lock story that there's ever been. I've seen the original 3 when they came out. Haven't seen any of the other ones. I've said that at least 10 times on the show.
Kevin, are you running for president over there?
Yes, I'm running for not president of the Star Wars fan club, apparently, but I'm running for something.
No, you're not invited to that. But I'm just saying, you sound like you're running for president over there. Like, my story is the most locked up story ever. There's never been a more locked up story than my story.
You accuse me of lying and backing down. My story's changed. My story's never changed.
Now you're changing your story again, because I never accused you of backing down.
You literally just did.
Never.
Okay.
Just said your story's falling apart. Like this segment. And take another slug of your water. It's fine. It's fine.
I mean, Christian, one time when he and I were on the air together, he literally stopped talking and wouldn't take it to break. So you never know where this is going to go.
I'm going to get up to speed with the Star Wars, Christian, but you got to tell me where I should start, because it seems to be a long time and a lot of stuff.
We're never discussing pop culture on the show again.
Yes, we will. We're going to do it tomorrow.
Ever.
Hey, let's do Harry Potter tomorrow, and then I can act equally.
That would make literally no sense.
Your toxic masculinity is keeping you from admitting you've seen the movie.
We're building tacos tomorrow on take 3. We're building taco, but I've seen enough to where I could like have a coherent conversation about it, Cody. What I'm saying is tomorrow.
I haven't seen it.
I don't care,
Kevin.
Kevin, I don't care about any movies you've ever seen. It's fine. We do everything on your time. It's fine. Tomorrow, Cinco de Mayo, we're talking about tacos. Quit crapping on things people love.
I'm not crapping on anything. He's getting so defensive. I haven't said anything. Like, watch the show, watch the movies. Don't watch the movies. I don't care. But that's what
you don't like the word nerds. You don't like that. You don't like the word nerds.
Yeah, and again, I just use that as a loving term. That's what they all call it. Yeah.
That's fine.
Thank God take 3's over. We'll come back. We'll switch gears.
We'll make sure we only do things that Kevin's enjoyed in the past going forward, folks.
Hey, that'd be great episodes for shows. Certainly be a lot easier on the show prep. We'll come back. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you are with us on this Tuesday. Power rankings are out because, well, that's what you do, right? As soon as you can possibly put them out in college football, you do it. Post-spring, ESPN Power Rankings, Oklahoma, number 1, ahead of Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, and Ohio State. Your top 5. I know Spencer Rattler, a lot of folks think he might be the QB1 for college football in 2021, but number 1 in the country. A little surprised at that.
Maybe, and at first kind of glance, you think Oklahoma probably not on the same level as Alabama, as Clemson, as Georgia. But I was looking at it, in total defense last year, they were 29th in the country. That's ahead of Alabama. Now, I think Alabama's going to take a major step forward defensively coming up this year. Clemson and Georgia were both top 15, but I think that's the question. We know Oklahoma can score. We know Oklahoma can throw the football. Added some really good players from Tennessee, the transfer portal with Eric Gray, Wanya Morris, Key Lawrence, in addition to the guys that are coming back. But I think the question is defensively, where are you? Are you good or are you great? I think if Oklahoma's good defensively, which they were last year, you can probably contend nationally, but I don't think you're going to, be on that same level necessarily as an Alabama, Clemson, maybe Georgia, but I would say maybe Ohio State, but I would say Alabama and Clemson. If you can take a next step and then go from maybe 29th defensively to maybe, 17 to 22, somewhere in that range, or top 15 even, then you're talking about a national title team. Yeah. I mean, Rattler is awesome. I think I would go Clemson, Alabama in some order first, but I do think this Oklahoma team's really interesting.
Well, the whole thing about it is, BJ, if Oklahoma did go from 20, 29 to top 15, that's still based on the level of competition. I'm taking nothing away from them making strides, but Spencer Rattler is definitely going to be the headliner when you look at the fact that the same way they win in their conference, how they're going to have to be able to beat these teams. They're going to have to outscore people. They are built to outscore teams, but I do agree. I mean, you talk about DJU at Clemson, talking about, JT Daniels at Georgia. Bryce Young is going to go out there and light it up. You talk about he's going to have a defense that's going to be, keeping a lot of opposing offenses, off the scoreboard. He's going to be able to go out there, hear him. I mean, Mechie, he don't like the fact that he's not being talked about as being one of the best returning receivers this year. You look at the season he was able to put together when Jalen Waddle was hurt. But you always got to be like, okay, can Bryce Young take the quarterback into another level? Tua, Mac Jones. Now, Mac Jones did what a lot of guys don't do. Didn't transfer, waited his time, saw what he was able to do. Bryce Young is a 5-star they went out there and got. And obviously, BJ, he looked really, really good, surprise, surprise, in their spring game. So I think that Oklahoma's going to do what Oklahoma does. UGA is going to be a team that's going to be very, very good on offense, even if George Pickens is going to be out. Clemson is Clemson. I mean, it's them and everybody else in the ACC, but I still think it's going to come back to Alabama. If they get back to old school, running the ball, play action pass, and stifling the defense, boring, but it's going to get you a lot of W's.
Yeah, some other interesting notes as to where this could all fall out, at least post-spring. You got Texas A&M in there at 7, BJ and Ben, so ahead of LSU, ahead of obviously others in the West is Texas A&M, despite some of their losses, lost Kellen Mond, ready to possibly put a contention towards Alabama. I mean, if they're 2 and you're 7, I know that you could say there's gaps there, but people think at least you have the opportunity to go in there and knock it off.
Yeah, I would stay there. I say there's still a little bit of a gap. I mean, and A&M was great last year. I mean, people forget they were the first team out of the playoff. They were 5th in the country. A&M, I mean, Jimbo's done a really good job there. Jimbo Fisher. Now, how do you replace Kellen Mond? I mean, the guy's been such a playmaker, such a leader the last, 4 years. That's going to be a major question. But I think the talent is there. I think they're a top 10 team for sure. When I look at some of these rankings, and I know the preseason magazines and stuff will be coming out soon, I'm just really surprised still that Florida's, close to 20. And Ben, I know, look, you guys got to replace superstars. I mean, Kyle Pitts, Kyle Trask, playmakers all over the place. But I think defensively, Florida's going to be a lot better when you look at the guys coming back. And I know we were talking the other day about 2022 mock drafts. If you look at some of those, a lot of Florida defensive guys there. I think, a lot of times when you lose a superstar quarterback, you really have to hit the reset button and you kind of have no idea where you are. I think Florida knows what it has. Emory Jones, Florida knows that they have a guy they can trust, a guy that's going to be a big-time playmaker, a guy who's been groomed for this opportunity. I think you're going to be a lot better running the football. I think you're going to be balanced. Now, can you replace Kyle Pitts? No. But to me, when I look at these preseason polls and kind of the SEC, yeah, you're right, Kevin. A&M's top 10. They're going to be one of the teams that's talked about nationally. But for me, and I may be wrong. I know there are a lot of people, Ben, who say, hey, could Missouri, could Kentucky finish ahead of Florida? I may be wrong. But for me, the team in the SEC that I feel like is underrated in some of these polls, I think it's Florida.
Well, the whole thing about it is, it seems crazy that Dan Mullen is going into year 3, right? Well, he didn't recruit Kyle Trask. He didn't recruit Felipe Franks. He recruited Emory Jones. And you look at some of the young talent they're going to have around him, Copeland, those guys, Shorter, and those guys. You talk about being able to add, some running backs that can definitely go out there and make it happen. The running game is going to have to be there. And you're going to kind of get back to what you saw with like a Dak Prescott, right? Like more like Emory Jones not going to be giving you 350 yards passing. It's going to be more around, 250 yards passing, right? At 80 yards rushing. Giving you more of that balance, BJ. But I like Florida being 17. I don't like Florida being preseason top 10. You need to have something to build up to. They did it. They did it last year. In the all SEC season, they went out there and got it done with Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney, Trevon Grimes. Well, all those guys are gone. Can you do it with this group? It's all about the current crop. I do think Emory Jones, I'm hearing nothing but great things coming out of games. Surprise, surprise. I don't think they allowed anybody to say nothing negative about the current quarterback that's going to be taking, going to be under center. But they got to prove it again. I mean, Dan Mullen is one of those guys to where when you talk about the big name coaches in college football, his name comes up regardless of him being in the college football playoff, or making an appearance yet or not. They got to go out there and prove it. And I think that while Trask took it to another level after Felipe, you don't want to have that big of a drop-off because he's replacing a Heisman Trophy finalist, but no one cares. Emory got to keep it going. I mean, he's the guy that got recruited. 17 is still, I think it's solid. Go out there and prove it because you got Alabama coming to town 3rd week of the season. You still got to deal with them boys from Athens. And, your SEC crossover every year is LSU. The odds makers are always against you, and that schedule is not favorable, but that's why you play, and hopefully they can go out there and make it happen.
Again, quick look at the ESPN preseason power rankings. We got more to come here on 3 and Out, including Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, will join us in the final hour. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Great to be here with you on this Tuesday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, we got the Braves coming up a little bit later tonight with the Braves and the Washington Nationals. BJ said a big series. You hope to get, or at least he's expected to pitch tomorrow, Max Fried in his return to the Braves roster. So I'd like to get off to a good start tonight with Huascar Ynoa. Again, just have good pitching, period, because the staff ERA is the worst in Major League Baseball, BJ. So nowhere to go but up, I guess, if you want to be positive about it. But you are actually getting it done offensively for the most part. I think you're a top half offense, maybe even a top 10 in terms of runs scored potentially offense last time I checked. But pitching, you can be top 10 in runs scored. But if you're giving up the most in Major League Baseball, that's not going to cut it.
Let me ask you this. I mean, I think we've all been surprised, really excited about Ynoa, how effective he's been. Has been really good. And he's a guy, maybe the attention wasn't there all preseason. What's key to his success, Kevin, in your mind?
I mean, it's the key is just confidence in what you're doing up there. I think in today's game, it's all a confidence play because everybody's trying to take you deep. That's that's the name of the game. It's not, hey, I'm going to try to work this guy and get a single. It's no, I want to take you deep and get a double launch angle, all that nonsense that comes into play. I think if you're a pitcher, though, don't nibble, attack. I think that's the key in every sport. The key is be aggressive. When you sit back, you're like, I'm going to try to make him chase, and that drives me nuts when you have 1-2 or 0-2 counts. And you're like, I'm going to nibble and see if he'll chase for 3. Like, no, keep going. Like when you have that, the onus is on them to swing the bat, right? I mean, that's it's called a pitcher's count for a reason. Utilize that. I think sometimes people don't stay aggressive when they get up on hitters early and try to look for the chase rather than put the onus on the guy in the box to go up there and do something. Don't trust your stuff. It signals to me you don't trust your stuff enough to challenge a guy at the plate when you start doing that.
I mean, Kevin, at what point when you talk about a pitcher, when they lose their aggressiveness, because I mean that's something you definitely control. You talk about like nibbling and things of that nature. When a pitcher loses his aggressiveness, I mean, how much more effective can they be when they're afraid of trying to throw their best stuff?
Oh, when they're not afraid. I mean, it's the difference in go look at Mike Soroka, Max Fried when they're on, Clayton Kershaw. Those guys are attacking. I think you look at a guy, perfect example, Luke Jackson. When he believes in what he's got, he's pretty good. When he's trying to place a slider out the way, he's not very good, and he feels like it's going to get hit. So I think you got to be confident up on the mound. We'll see what Ynoa can do. We'll come back. Rich Stiles will join us in the final hour of the show. We'll get you ready for Braves baseball as well. Welcome back, 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad to have you along here on this Tuesday. A lot to get to here in the final hour of the program. If you missed our conversation with Chad Lunsford, we'll have that for you coming up here in just a little bit, as well as we count you down towards the Braves and the Nationals. We're efforting Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys golf show, to join us here on the program as well. But again, we appreciate early in the show, if you missed it, Luke Farrell joining us on the program. You can go to the podcast each and every day, ESPNcoastal.com, Spotify, our YouTube channel, and you can hear that conversation we had with Luke Farrell, former Ohio State tight end, now with the Jags. So we're trying to get a lot more of that stuff going on. Ernest Jones tomorrow on the show. Also, Jamin Davis going to be on the show tomorrow. So a couple of Southeast Georgia guys will be joining us talking about their draft experience and obviously heading to the National Football League.
Yeah, super excited for those guys. Great players, great standout linebackers. And Ben, I know one thing you like about both Davis and Jones is these are guys that are modern prototypes. These are guys that are athletic, that are smart, that are everywhere all over the field. I think both guys are really poised for success right away.
Absolutely. I mean, Ernest Jones, to me, is more like a Devin White type. Just a thumper, a guy that want to get in there and get. I be that force in the run game. And when I think about Davis, BJ, I think about Levante David. When you talk about a guy that, doesn't come off the field, BJ, something we talked about yesterday, which I'm just putting it out there for Davis. You asked, what do you do with a guy like Kyle Pitts? You got to have a guy that's just as fast as him, just as big as him, just as athletic as him. Davis, I think he want that smoke because obviously they played against each other in college with Davis playing in Kentucky. But Davis, you see him on tape. Kyle Pitts ran a 4.45. He's 6'6". Davis ran a 4.41. He's 6'4". I don't know where they making these breed of athletes are, but it's almost like your athleticism matches that for which you coming into the league with. Thank God it's 2021 and not 2004 because ain't no fofos over here. I was a tight end that ran as fast as I could, for as long as I could and got the hell out the way.
We have found Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys golf show. Rich, welcome to the show. How are you?
Bonsoir, messieurs.
I don't know what any of that means, but I'll take it as a compliment, I guess. No, but before we talk actual golf stuff, Rich, tomorrow is your showdown with Christian, where you settle the Masters Challenge. So how you feeling, less than a day out? You feeling good? Yeah,
I'm feeling very good. I think my game's in a good place. The driver's working really well, chipping as well. Putting, needs a little bit of work, but I think overall, without the windmill and the clown and the little funny nose, I think we'll be fine.
You're in Christian's head there a little bit. He's getting all serious. He's like, I'm going to put my game face on and just try to go after it. I'm like, man, Rich is relaxed and ready to go, man.
Yeah. Hey, it's a day on the golf course with some friends and some fellowship, and we'll just see. There'll be some good holes and there'll be some bad holes.
What is the format? What is the format you guys are using?
Well, we talked about stroke play and then we talked about match play. And I think, to be fair, I think match play would be a better way to go with a double bogey, the highest score that you can get. I think that'll work, and we'll just see. So if you have a bad hole, you just pick up and you move on.
So, Rich, this thing is definitely indeed going down tomorrow. If it does indeed get ugly and you come out, on the winning end, does that mean you got to do a CrossFit challenge with Christian so he can get a little get back?
Well, it kind of depends. It kind of depends how it starts out. Christian did tell me that he loses, 3 or 4 balls around. And so I'll bring him 3 or 4 balls so he doesn't get too down about that. I'll bring him a couple of tees. I did leave him a golf towel the other day so he could wipe his brow a little bit. But, I think it's just going to be a good day on the golf course. It's going to be a great day at 8:30 in the morning. There won't be a cannon shoot off, but there may be a cap pistol.
I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing turns out, Rich, because I like the subtlety of the, hey, I left you a towel. When things start going awry, just, go ahead and mat it down. So you're already winning the headspace game here early over Christian.
Well, here's the thing. Let's face it. Because I do the golf show, everyone is expecting me to win. So I have everything to lose. I have some to gain to keep a reputation of whatever that is. But, you know, it's just going to be, I'm going to have a protein shake in the morning. And I'll just be ready to go. I'll be hydrated. I think we'll be fine.
Okay, but you've told us, and I know we have some golf news to get to, but you've told us that golf is, you know, psychological, right? You have to be relaxed. You have to be ready to go. You talk about the pros. How do you make sure that your mind is right for tomorrow?
I'm just going to, you know, go on over and loosen up a little bit and feel good about my swing and hit some various clubs and go over on the putting green. And, you know, it's at that point, you know, that the mind takes over, and then you just have to rely on the skills that you have and use them and not get in too much trouble, not get big numbers. And if it's match play, you know, I'm going to have some bad holes. He's going to have some bad holes. And all we need to do is win by one.
Yeah, but Rich, be honest with us, though. I mean, you know, obviously you come on every week with us. How many weeks do you say to yourself, Christian looking like he wants some of this? I ain't gonna say nothing to him. I'm gonna let him come to me. But when he do come to me, you know, I'm not gonna turn him loose if he indeed opens up his mouth and say he wants some of this smoke.
Well, he might. I mean, he's just got to, you know, understand that golf is a game, and golf is not a game of perfect. And I think when I first started playing, you know, I thought I played baseball really well. And I thought, well, gosh, golf, I mean, how hard can it be? Well, I got to tell you that after playing this game for quite a while, I think golf is without a doubt the hardest game to play. The ball stands still. The ball does not know how big you are, how small you are, how old you are, or whether you've played or not played. So then it becomes rely on your skills and don't let someone get into your head.
That's right. That's the key to success right there. Rich, I wanted to ask you, I know we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but you're seeing headlines about it again with the Premier Golf League. And you're hearing, you know, obviously this thing is going to be awash with cash to try to entice people to play. I mean, we saw a kind of super league try to get formed around European soccer, and the fans revolted. I don't know if you'll have fans revolting, but is this something that's going to go over poorly with fans if you form this super league where, you know, it's just the top guys duking it out for just obscene amounts of cash?
Well, I think that's why the PGA came up with that player impact program, was to kind of maybe thwart their effort. I mean, they put up $40 million, which the PGA Tour is, you know, kind of a deterrent. They're hoping for those guys that maybe want to go on that tour. But you know, if you kind of look at it, it is not a money thing. I mean, these guys really, the top guys don't need the money. So is it competitive? Well, they can be competitive on the PGA Tour. What courses are they going to play? I mean, how long will the season be? I mean, the Saudis have put up the money and maybe some other investors. So money is not going to be an issue. And these guys playing for, you know, $5 million, $10 million, you know, what they do on the PGA Tour basically buys their clothes and their houses and vacations and cars and everything else. But where they really make their money is endorsements. And it'll depend on TV coverage with this Premier League, if it even happens. And right now, golf on the Golf Channel, CBS and NBC and ESPN at times, that's what really has brought up the purses for the PGA Tour. And that's only going to continue to go up as they go into new TV contracts.
Rich, you got the PGA Championship coming up in a couple of weeks up at Kiowa. What are some of the early storylines that we may be talking about when that gets here?
Well, I think, you know, it's going to be you know, whose game is on at that point. I mean, Keegan Bradley is playing good. Sam Burns is playing good. He's had some, you know, and he won last week. Korn Ferry Tour grad. I mean, again, we talk about this all the time. Who do you favor in the majors? I mean, some of the guys really get up for every week, and some of the guys play every week just to get ready for the majors. And, you know, I think it's whose game is ready to go. Bruce, Koepka is, I don't think he's going to be anywhere near where he's been in other majors because he's been out for so long. He's been disappointed with the way that he's been playing because he hasn't played for a while. And I think you're going to have to play in tournaments. I think you're going to have to do the best you can. And Kiowa is not going to be easy, especially if there's going to be any wind and any bad weather. Kiowa is going to play awfully, awfully tough. It just depends on who makes the least mistakes. Par is going to be your friend. And every now and then you can go for the pin when it's the right time.
And Rich, you always talking about strategy, especially, at this time of the year. We talk, with these golfers being the best in the world. What part of your game can you ill afford to be, not at your best at when you talk about planning these majors?
Well, I think the strategy is, you need to be in the middle of the green. You need to at least have, your fairways and your greens, and be in the right place on the greens. And these guys are going to do their strategery. And they're going to want to be in the right place. And as I said, there's going to be some pins that they're going to want to go after because it's going to be easy to go after. And then it's going to be some other pins. Hey, just get on the green, 2-putt, and let's try and get out with a par. And, it's who's going to be the smartest, who's going to avoid the bigger numbers. There's water in play. There's going to be wind in play with no doubt. It's going to be an interesting PGA Championship at Kiowa, where we've had a Ryder Cup, and it's been a very interesting outcome from that.
Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, our guest here on 3 and Out. Rich, we appreciate the time. Make sure you rest up, get loose and limber. I know I'm pulling for you to get the dub tomorrow. I'll let Ben and BJ speak for themselves, but I'm pulling for you. You have I'm Team Rich into tomorrow's matchup.
I appreciate it. TV coverage will not begin at 8:25. Be radio only. Maybe some picks, but no autograph signing, and we'll see what happens at the end.
Hey, there we go. Rich, we appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
All right, guys. Bye.
Appreciate it. Rich Stiles joining us here, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show. It's going down tomorrow. And again, this dates back to the Masters, where we had our office Masters pool for the golf tournament. And then, Christian and Rich tied. So they decided to take it to the golf course to determine the winner of the Masters pool. So we finally got it set up where everybody could do it. And tomorrow it's going to happen. So I'm Team Rich. Who you feeling a day out here, Ben and BJ?
I mean, look, Rich said he has the pressure because he's the golf host. I mean, I think that's probably right. Now, correct me. I mean, have you two played with both these guys? Because Ben, you played with Christian, right?
I have played with Christian. Christian is my official swing coach. I mean, I hate to disappoint Christian, but listening to Rich and everything that's been going on, I'm not going against the homie. Of course, I'm going with Christian. This is a different type of bragging rights, though, Kevin and BJ. I mean, listen, this generations are on the line. I mean, I'm telling you, Rich might have some of his squad out there saying, "Hey, Rich, man, I'm looking forward to the trash talk. Christian is cool, calm, and collected, but there are no friends tomorrow. I mean, listen, it's going to be the Back Nine Boys versus Second Down, and they in the trenches tomorrow, Kevin. I mean. And listen, Kevin want Rich to win, so Kevin can be like, "Hey man, what happened at the golf thing? You ain't really say nothing about it." I'm just saying, listen, sometimes you bite off more than you can chew, but Christian, I've seen him go out there and play, but I think all the pressure is on Rich because you are our golf guy. If you get smacked, I'm talking trash next week. I'm telling you, Kevin, if Rich get beat down, I'm talking trash.
Oh, I'll know it. I'll know within 2 seconds how it goes because I'm sure Christian will never let me hear the end of it. For sure, if he goes out there and wins. So I'm Team Rich tomorrow, and we'll see if he gets it done. We've got more to come here on 3 and Out, including our conversation with Chad Lunsford, head football coach at Georgia Southern. Now that they're done with spring, his look ahead. Also, the announcement of some great non-conference matchups for Georgia Southern. They had a couple of guys sign undrafted free agent contracts immediately after the draft. We'll ask him about those two young men as well. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. on this Tuesday, and we are pleased as spring practice come to an end, the draft come to an end as well. We are pleased to be joined by the head football coach of the Georgia Southern Eagles, Chad Lunsford, joins us here on 3 and Out. Coach, welcome. How are you?
Doing awesome. How are y'all today?
Hey, doing fantastic. Before we get to your spring practice and some other things, we're coming off the NFL draft weekend. I know you had a couple guys right there at the end of the draft signed free agent deals, Raymond Johnson and Ryan Langan. Have you spoke to those guys since they've landed in their new spots?
I have. They're really excited about their new opportunity. Both of them were very close to being drafted. Kind of the way it came out with those late rounds, ended up going the free agent route, which, may end up being better because they were obviously able to pick their landing spot. And I know for sure with Ryan Langan, he did a really good job of, doing his homework and understanding that the LA Chargers were a good fit for him. And same thing with Raymond being able to go to the New York Giants. But they're excited about their new adventure, and I think they're well prepared and ready to do it.
And Coach, so many guys now come out of this Georgia Southern program, get opportunities at the next level. Talk about the preparation that you guys do, getting these student athletes ready, and talk about how great it is for the program to see these student athletes move on and have these opportunities.
Well, I tell you what we tried to do from the start. Our staff's done a really good job of being open door policy to the pro scouts. It hadn't always been that way here, and but we let those pro scouts get in here and really take a look at our guys, evaluate our guys, and get whatever information they need on them. And I think that's been a big piece to why our guys are getting the opportunities that they do, because they just don't get hidden away. They get out there in the front, and obviously what they get to do on Saturdays, but also too what they do day in, day out as Georgia Southern men. The hats off to our coaches, man. A really good job of developing our guys and really bring them along and putting them in position to be successful at the next level.
And, Coach, one thing that's not talked about enough when you talk about getting drafted or going as an undrafted free agent is the cities that you go to. I mean, Kendall Vildo, he goes to Chicago. You talk about the two gentlemen, this year going to Los Angeles. Talk about going to New York. These are big-time cities, big-time major markets. Just talk about the fact that, coming from Statesboro, being able to make it in these big cities, that's got to make you feel good knowing that these young men are not just prepared for football. You guys prepare them for life.
Yeah, no doubt on that. For our guys to be able to come from a small college town, Statesboro, Georgia Southern University, and then get in those major markets like Kendall getting drafted last year by the Bears, and then at the end of the year actually ends up starting for them. It just shows you what they're doing and how they have prepared themselves for the maybe for that next level and that bigger scenery, that bigger moment, from college football to NFL. And then, like Ryan Langan was really awesome in how that, he came from 6-man high school football to play, his very first game is against Auburn University. When he got to Georgia Southern, he plays in front of 87,000 people. And then he had close to 500 long snaps and didn't have a single bad snap. And, and then being able to go now to a professional program like he's going to, I think he's definitely prepared himself in that manner. So very excited for our guys and their opportunity to really put Georgia Southern on the map.
Chad Lunsford, Georgia Southern head football coach, joining us here on 3 and Out. And Coach yesterday announced some big news in terms of the future scheduling. Talk about that a little bit. Clemson coming up in 2026, Kentucky, and a home with an Eastern Michigan squad that's going to make a trip to Statesboro. Just speak to some of the games you guys have coming up, obviously well down the road, but the fact that you guys are going out and getting to schedule some of these teams.
Yeah, I'm really focused on Gardner Webb right now, but it's exciting where to be able to go ahead and get these teams on the schedule. And it's big. It's big in recruiting. Obviously, be able to show that we're going to play teams like Clemson and Kentucky, and and being able to have a G5 team in Eastern Michigan, a home and away. It just really makes it very exciting, and being able to plan for the future and just showing, since we've gone FBS, the ability to get quality opponents and the opportunity to draw people to Paulson Stadium, but also to be able to go play these bigger schools at their place and, go compete and show what how we're progressing as an FBS program.
And I was going to say, you mentioned just the overall program, big picture. I mean, you think about, the big time matchups you guys have in conference, the big time out of conference games you have at every level, a number of them coming up. Does it just add to kind of the overall energy and momentum that you guys have?
Yeah, for sure. I think, between our guys, going to a bowl game the last 3 years, obviously would have loved to won all three of them, but being 2-1 in those bowl games, knocking on the door for a Sun Belt championship, we really want to get over that hump and get us a Sun Belt title here, with this group of guys. And then the ability to go and play these types of teams, like being able to go play Arkansas this year, had the opportunity last year until COVID hit, we were going to go play Ole Miss. Those types of things are just really big for our program. We were going to go play Boise last year, and obviously we got Boise coming to Paulson in the near future, but also getting BYU coming to Paulson this coming season. There's just a lot of things that we can sell for our program that, one, gets our current players fired up and excited, but also, two, being able to get our recruits excited.
And Coach, I was going to ask you about that. When you talk about, obviously, the lifeblood of any program is recruiting, how great is that for y'all to be able to say, listen, coming to Georgia Southern, you're going to still get to play teams like LSU, like Auburn, like BYU coming to town, that healthy rivalry you guys got, with App State. It's got to be great to be out there to be able to tell people, listen, man, yeah, you coming to Statesboro, Georgia, but either we can come there or they can come here to play us. Because, outside, when you talk about the conference that everybody's scared to play outside of their conference, the Sun Belt is the fun belt. If you in that conference, you guys be beat up on these other conferences.
Yeah, the Sun Belt is something else now. You got to be ready week in, week out. And as you can see, with what the Sun Belt has done against some of these Power 5 schools, it's one of those things that makes it hard to also get those opponents to schedule you. And so, great job by our athletic director and getting us in a position to be able to schedule these teams because what it does do, when our recruits see our guys getting an opportunity in the league, that gets them excited about Georgia Southern football. But it also, when they see how quality opponents that we have, they understand that they're going to be able to put their skill set, out there and be able to show what they can do against quality opponents, which then can lead to next level stuff.
Chad Lunsford, Georgia Southern head football coach, joining us here on 3 and Out. And Coach, you wrapped up spring a couple of weeks ago. How do you feel about your squad now when you get ready to look ahead into the fall workouts coming up?
Feel good about them. They were very businesslike throughout the off season during the spring semester. I thought they did a really good job of January all the way to spring ball as far as getting their bodies ready. After playing 13 games last year, I thought it was important that we spent some time with the strength and conditioning piece. They did a good job with that. And then when we got into spring ball, a lot of these guys had not experienced what a spring ball was like in college just because of how young of a football team we are. And I thought they embraced the grind. I thought they embraced what it took to put into that. And I felt like that with our fundamentals and our techniques, I feel like that we got better as football players. And then on top of that, be able to put in our new offensive scheme and then continue to build on what we've done defensively. So I really like where our guys are at, look like what we're heading into with our summer training, and really looking forward to seeing what our team can do next year. But I feel like our team can go compete for the Sun Belt title and make some noise next year. So excited about them for sure.
And what were you and your staff looking for out of spring ball, out of the spring game maybe, and kind of what were your impressions of the team just from a schematic standpoint as you guys move forward?
Well, I thought it was an interesting spring in that our defense, our defensive staff has a lot of continuity, and I think we've continued to build on what we've done here as a defense, continue to get better every year, and we've played some solid defense since taking over. And, so I think we did a really good job of continuing to grow that during the spring. offensively was unique in that we were installing Coach Roos's offense. So, but I think what helped was the ability to introduce, with Coach calling the play, Coach Roos calling the plays the last 3 games last year. That kind of gave us a jump start into the spring. However, he had to adapt to the previous offense that we were running last year. And so spring for us was about getting his offense installed. And you can tell our guys are very excited about it, got a lot of energy about the no huddle, up-tempo stuff that we're doing. And, I think the big piece was getting them comfortable in the new offense and trying to progress through the summer and on into training camp so that we can be hitting on all cylinders come fall.
And Coach, how much better is that going to make you, or how much more dangerous is that going to make your offense to have that no huddle up tempo? And how is that quarterback competition coming along?
Well, I think it's going to help us a lot because what we found is we've been playing really good defense. We're in every game. We can win them at the end. Sometimes we just need a little bit more firepower on offense, and I think being able to go up tempo, no huddle, can allow us to run more plays, but also still control the ball so that we keep our defense off the field. So I think that definitely gives us an advantage moving forward offensively. But as far as the quarterback battle goes, I think Justin Tomlin has solidified himself as the starter. He did a really good job at the end of last year before he got hurt, but has had an awesome offseason, did a really good job through the spring. Obviously we got a battle still going on for who's going to be the number 2 guy. And, I feel good about Sam Kennerson, Connor Sigelski. I think those guys have really come along in the spring, but they still need to take the next step. And then, we still got a unknown out there in James Graham, who transferred from Georgia Tech, was dealing with some personal issues throughout spring. So we really haven't seen a lot of him yet. We've got to definitely solidify who's the number 2 quarterback is going to be, because, in our offense, we got to be able to play more than one quarterback.
I was going to say, how much, you mentioned the offense a couple of times, how much different is the offense going to be? Obviously you mentioned a couple of things, but I mean, is it a lot of similarities with some wrinkles, or is it kind of a different direction offensively?
Well, we're still going to be an option football team, but I think, being more up tempo is going to help us. And then you're going to see a lot more probably gap scheme type run plays. And then trying to make sure that the RPO game and the play action pass game can be a little bit more efficient and explosive for us. So I think those are some things that you're going to see that's going to end up being a little bit different for us.
So, Coach, what's your perspective? What are your priorities moving forward, kind of now that spring's in the rear view, moving forward into the summer?
I think the big piece in the summer is turning the page back to strength and conditioning. Let's continue to try to get our guys bigger and stronger, get them in shape, get them in football shape. That's the piece that we really missed last year. With us being only one of 2 teams to play 13 games last year, that was amazing considering that we didn't have the off season to get their bodies right. And last year we had to be in a next man up mentality, just because I do think there were more injuries just because we were not as prepared with our bodies as we normally would have been. So I think the big piece is just making sure we get our guys in that get them in football shape, get them ready to go through the grind of a full fall season.
And Coach, I mean, most of the time they say football players play better when the game slows down for them. I mean, you as a head coach, I mean, I know coaching is coaching, but has it slowed down a little bit for you, now that you got some years under your belt?
No question. I think the experience with our guys, we had a good group we had about 8 super seniors come back, which was awesome for us. We've had a lot of guys that played a lot of football for us. When you start talking about our offensive line, I think this is the best offensive line that we've had since I've been the head coach, as far as experience and also just the game slowing down for them. So I'm really excited about that. We're very experienced at the running back group. Obviously, I've talked about our defense, but I think if our running back group and our offensive line can do what we think they can do, the game slowing down for them is definitely huge for us as we go through this season.
Chad Lunsford, Georgia Southern head football coach, our guest here on 3 and Out. Coach, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Thank y'all. GATA.
Appreciate it. Chad Lunsford joining us. And again, opening up against Gardner-Webb, as he said, coming up in September. The big announcements this week, Clemson an out year in 2026, at Kentucky in 2029, and a home with Eastern Michigan. But guys, just real quick before we have to step aside, at Arkansas this year, in the coming years, at Nebraska, at UAB, Wisconsin, Boise State, Ole Miss, BYU. Oh, I forgot, BYU coming to Statesboro this year as well. So quite the schedule there with Chad Lunsford and Georgia Southern in just the coming years in Statesboro. We've got more to come. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop, glad you're making us a part of your day. Again, tomorrow on the show, we'll have Ernest Jones. Jamin Davis will join us. A couple of Southeast Georgia draft picks. BJ, looking forward to that.
Really talented guys, really happy for them, really proud of all they've accomplished, and excited to get their perspective as you're talking about big-time playmakers who I think are ready to star at the next level.
Yes, looking forward to having them on, Ben. A couple of guys seeing their dreams come true. So a couple of guys on the defensive side of the ball. We'll have them on tomorrow. I think Ernest Jones is going to join us right at the top of the show, so don't want to miss that. If you miss any portion of today's show, our conversation with Chad Lunsford, with Luke Farrell, ESPNcoastal.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube channel. You can catch all of the archived and podcasted versions of the show there as well. We've got Braves baseball coming up for you here in just a little bit, fellas, and a big start for Huascar Ynoa as they try to end the losing streak here and get the Braves headed back in the right direction.
Hopefully they get back to their winning ways, Kevin. I mean, like I said, I go from BJ if I want to go to panic mode. I come back to you if I want to kind of get back to that even keel. I know BJ expect the Braves to go 162-0. It is not going to happen. Hopefully they get back to their winning ways starting tonight.
I don't even know if 140, is possible.
Look, man, all I'm saying, and I texted you guys earlier, all I'm saying is I think it's a big game. I think it's a big game tonight. I do. Even though it's early May, I think from a momentum standpoint, just from a kind of confidence standpoint, you were talking about confidence with individual players, Kevin. I think, well, a team, needs a confidence boost every now and then too. So it's a bad weekend. You had injuries too. I just think it's an important game, big game tonight for the Braves.
Yeah, Huascar Ynoa watch William Contreras behind the plate tonight with the young pitcher, so that could be a factor tonight, as well as the Braves in division against the Washington Nationals. But it is Joe Ross. It's not Strasburg or Scherzer tonight. It's Joe Ross, whose ERA not a lot to write home about there as well. So we'll have that for you coming up in about 5 minutes with the pregame coverage. First pitch just after 7 o'clock here this evening. Again, Ernest Jones, Jamin Davis going to join us on the show tomorrow, and we look forward to having you on then. Again, appreciate Rich Stiles, Chad Lunsford, Luke Farrell for joining us, and home team Brandon Leak for joining us here on this Tuesday. Enjoy your evening. Braves baseball coming up next against the Nationals. This is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network, streaming live, ESPNcoastal.com, on Twitter @Pigskin Radio.